BrainSync, a sound approach to conscious evolution. To experience the effects of this extraordinary technology, stereo headphones are required.
Striking things about alleged eyewitness encounters with extraterrestrials is the commonality of their appearance.
These encounters are so widespread and the description so detailed that it's now possible to analyze these reports. We've broken them down into 7 distinct categories.
Now, if, and remember it's a very big if, we are being visited by extraterrestrials, the galaxy may be more diverse than we can imagine. An all-too-common sight in our society is policemen arriving at the scene of a crime, trying to determine what happened. Often they call on forensic artists like Bill McDonald for help. Recently, Bill turned his artistry to another mystery, determining the identity of the alien creatures that millions believe walk this planet. First, he sifted through the eyewitness descriptions.
3 to 5 feet tall.
Big heads, big eyes.
They look like flies in a way.
White, iridescent sort of skin.
It was green and had little hair on it.
Perfect humanoids.
From descriptions like these, Bill McDonald created composite sketches of alien beings.
The illustrations I do are made specifically for scientific research and for publication, and the intent is to be as accurate to the witness descriptions as possible.
Altogether, he's identified 7 different types of aliens.
The first category are the Roswell aliens. The Roswell aliens have a reptile-type texture to their skin. The eyes are very human, and they're Asian in character. The gray aliens are the next category, Reticulum sapiens superior. You have a small race between 3'5" and 4'1" that act as a technician or worker class. They have the classic black eyes wrapping around the sides of their heads. The next category are the ancients. They look almost like giant praying mantises or grasshopper insects. The eyes are fully up to 1/3 the total mass of the head. The Nordics are very interesting because they're the most human appearing of all of the aliens. They appear to be slightly taller than us, extremely athletic in build. The females are extremely well endowed proportionally. The males are very, very gorgeous and are described as looking a lot like some of the models like Fabio. The hybrids are extremely interesting and very varied. Some of the hybrids are proportionally like children with very fine hair. The reptilians seem to have like 3 toes instead of the normal 5 on their feet. And they seem very humanish in proportion, but they have larger than normal mouths, and they have a very snake-like or lizard appearance. Some of the aliens, and it's interesting that the aliens in Close Encounters of the Third Kind looked a lot like this, seem to appear like fetuses and are proportionally like fetuses that are running around like small children, have a higher degree of intelligence, and operate in a technical capacity, if you will.
Bill McDonald has no explanation for the variety of alien life he has cataloged.
2007, this strange creature was found on a farm in Mexico. The farmer drowned it out of fear. Since the end of 2008, researchers have been carrying out tests on the corpse, but the mystery is deepening. Even serious scientists are wondering if this creature comes from another planet. The tests showed that the being is not known to exist on Earth. Its body has characteristics of both lizards and humans. It also has a large brain, a sign that it was probably highly intelligent.
Not alone in the universe is one of the more important aspects of our time.
I read about this incident you had in 1951, and you said you saw literally hundreds of unidentifiable flying objects.
Yes, they were flying quite high. How high we couldn't tell because we couldn't get anywhere near their altitude. But they were either very large craft way up or smaller craft still well above what we could get.
Paul Hellyer, former Minister of Defense of Canada, and he believes that life forms from space exist and are present on Earth. It's great to have you with us on our show. Why do you say that UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying over our heads?
Because I know that they are. They've been, as a matter of fact, they've been visiting our planet for thousands of years. And one of the cases that would interest you most, if you give me 2 or 3 minutes to answer, is during the Cold War, 1961, there were about 50 UFOs in formation flying south from Russia to across Europe. And the Supreme Allied Commander was very concerned and about ready to press the panic button when they turned around and went back over the North Pole. So they decided to do an investigation. And they investigated for 3 years, and they decided that with absolute certainty that 4 different species at least, had been visiting this planet for thousands of years. So that's, we have a long history of UFOs, and of course there's been a lot more activity in the last few decades since we invented the atomic bomb. And they're very concerned about that and the fact that we might use it again. And because the whole cosmos is a unity, and it affects not just us, but other people in the cosmos, they're very much afraid that we might be stupid enough to start using atomic weapons again, and this would be very bad for us.
So these extraterrestrial creatures, where did they come from, and how did they get here to Earth?
They come from various places. For a long while, I only knew about ones who came from different star systems. The Pleiades and Reta Reticula and several other star systems, but in the last few months I have met people who have made me aware of that there are some in our star system, and that there are actually extraterrestrials who live on a planet called Andromeda, which is one of the moons of Saturn, and that there are others on Venus and some on Mars, and that they may be interacting between themselves. I suspect that they are, because there is what is called a federation of these people, and they have rules. For example, one of the rules is that they don't interfere in our affairs unless they're invited.
You also tell me that people write you emails, 3 to 5 emails a week, and they've actually been abducted or they have encounters with the aliens. Do they actually tell you what these aliens look like? I mean, you know, everyone's interested. How would I know if I see an alien and if he abducts me?
Well, you have the first question you have to ask is how many species are there? And I used to think there were, you know, between 2 and 12. And Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who came to Toronto a few years ago and had dinner with us, agreed there was somewhere between 2 and 12. But the latest reports that I've been getting from various sources are that there are about 80 different species. And some of them look just like us, and they could walk down the street and you wouldn't know if you ran, you know, walked past one. And they're what we call the Nordic blondes, and also the tall whites, who were actually working with the United States Air Force in Nevada. They're able to get away with that. They had a couple of their ladies dressed as nuns went into Las Vegas to shop, and they weren't detected. And I have a friend who saw one of the men walking along the street, and somebody who would recognize that they were different, and he did. So there are those kind, and then there are the short grays, as they're called, and they're the ones that you see in most of the cartoons. They're have very, very slim arms and legs, and they're very short, just you know, a little over 5 feet, and they have a great big torso and a great big head and great big brown eyes. But they're different species, so you have to know that they're different species, and it's and know that they're all different. Mm-hmm. So if you saw the short gray, you'd certainly know that there was something up that you'd never seen before. But if you saw one of the Nordic blondes, well, you'd probably say, "Oh, I wonder if she's from Denmark or somewhere," you know.
So these species that you're describing, are they all different in terms of nice and mean? Are some of them nice and benevolent? Are others nasty? Or how are they? Are they good to people on Earth, or are they here to harm them?
Well, it's a difficult question to answer because they have different agendas. And maybe all of us on Earth should have the same agenda, but you couldn't say maybe that Russia and China and the United States all had the same agenda at every turn, because they don't. And I would say that nearly all are benign, they're benevolent, they want to help us. There may be 1 or 2 species which do not. And that's one of the things I'm investigating at the moment, is to see who they are and what they're up to and what their agendas really are.
Do you ever wonder what might lie out there deep in space? Do you want to believe we're not alone, that somewhere in the universe, intelligent life may actually exist?
Our next guest says there is life out there. It does exist. Dr. Charles Hall says he spent 2 years working with extraterrestrial beings during his time with the American military. He claims the US military has actually been in contact with alien species for years. And Dr. Charles Hall is here to explain, along with his wife Marie, live from what Bugs Bunny used to call Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, thank you both for your time. Terrific to have you with us. Firstly, Charles, can you tell us your story of how you managed to come into contact with these beings as you worked with the military?
I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I enlisted in the Air Force in July 1964, and I was trained as a weather observer, and I was sent to Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, outside Las Vegas, Nevada, and for 2.5 years I was sent up to the gunnery ranges up at Indian Springs, and I was given a clearance to allow me to go anywhere in Dreamland as long as I was alone. I discovered that up there at the north end of Indian Springs Valley, which you can see on the map, in the state of Nevada here in America, that there was a base which the U.S. Air Force maintained for a group of extraterrestrials who were tall and white. And I, as the duty weather observer, was allowed to go up there, or they were allowed to come down to where I was. And that the interaction took place over more than 2 years.
Wow.
During those 2 years, I also came across, I also interacted to a lesser extent with the Roswell Greys, and I've also personally talked with the extraterrestrials that I call the Norwegians with 24 teeth, who come here from a very nearby star, perhaps Bernard star. And my experiences, my presentations, my books are unique because I'm the only person that I know of that was allowed to interact with the extraterrestrials, with the tall whites, for more than 2 years.
So 3 different species of aliens you're talking about there, Charles.
Yeah, can you describe what they look
Yes,
like,
that is
what they
correct.
were like?
Well, I'll start with the tall whites. They're thinner than we are, and they're very frail. Throughout most of their life, they are the same height as I am, 5'11", but they live 10 times longer than humans. They live 600 or 800 years.
Wow.
But they don't age the way we do. When they get to be equivalent to a human of about 40 years, that means when they're about 400 years, they start growing again instead of aging as humans.
Right.
And then they go, and this continues, and so that by the time they get to be 600 or 800 years old, they're very tall, 8.5, 9, or 10 feet tall. But this is not necessarily good because their skeleton grows more than their internal organs. And so there comes a time after 600 or 800 years when their skeleton, their body is tall, but their organs can't support it, at which time they die a natural death, because they're just flesh and blood creatures like we are. If they injure themselves, it takes them 10 times longer to heal up than a human.
Yeah.
So there's a trade-off.
Yeah, right. They still look fresh as a daisy when they go, though. They look like Tilda Swinton. Hey, just quickly, you had them there. You were working with the aliens on any particular project, or was the military working with the aliens on a particular project? Was there, I don't know, technology sharing or, you know, botanical cross-fertilization?
The U.S. Air Force, and I'm speaking of the mid-1960s, was willing to give them anything they asked for. When I first met them, I was very afraid of them, and every human I met when you come across them out in the desert was naturally very afraid of them, and they were even more afraid of us. It's like running into a gorilla in the wild, where the gorilla is on his home ground. So they had...
Абсолютно все. Ну вот, например, прилетали на Землю инопланетяне, те самые зеленые человечки.
Маляна, значит, рассказываю вам первый и последний раз. Вместе с передачей чемодана с ядерными кодами президенту страны приносят специальную папку. На ней написано «Совершенно секретно». И она целиком и полностью посвящена пришельцам, которые посетили нашу планету. Одновременно предоставляется доклад от абсолютно закрытой спецслужбы, которая занимается контролем пришельцев на территории нашей страны. Значит, две эти папки передаются вместе с ядерным чемоданом. После прекращения полномочий, соответственно, эти папки передаются новому президенту. Более подробную информацию на эту тему вы можете получить, посмотрев известный хроникально-документальный фильм «Люди в черном». Вышло несколько версий.
Сколько их среди нас?
Сколько их среди нас, рассказывать не буду, потому что это может вызвать...
Well, Don, it began for me in 1963 when I was assigned to the Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers in Europe. I arrived in the summer of '63 and I was assigned to the Operations Division. I was further assigned to what we call SHOC, the War Room, the Supreme Headquarters Operations Center. And at that time I was given a cosmic top secret clearance, which was and still is the highest level of security access that NATO has. When I was assigned to the War Room, I learned that a study had been initiated in 1961, and everybody was talking about it. They were gossiping about it. And the subject was UFOs, and that intrigued me a bit. When that study was concluded in 1964, and it was published, and I was still working in the War Room at that time, I had access to this document. I had a chance to read it. And having been exposed to it, I must tell you honestly that my life has never ever quite been the same. Because I read first-hand reports, verifiable NATO military material that indicated that the UFOs were not only real, that they represented something far beyond anything I had ever imagined before. When the study was concluded in '64, they concluded that there were 4 different groups apparently coming and visiting us. Out of those 4 different groups, one group looked exactly like we do, so much so that they could sit beside you in a restaurant or in an airplane or in a theater, and you'd never know. And that particular point bothered the military guys a lot. The point being that some of these people from somewhere could be walking up and down the corridors of SHAPE headquarters, or they could be walking up and down the corridors of the Pentagon. One day at lunch, a lieutenant colonel made the remark, he says, Jesus, do you realize they could even be in the White House? And there was a little forced laughter at that point, I remember, because a lot of us over the years have had some misgivings about the occupants of the White House. But the point I'm making is that the idea that aliens could be here in our midst bothered the military, because if you're not paranoid when you go into the service, you're certainly trained very quickly to be so. It's the nature of the military mind, I think, to be paranoid. But that was only part of the story. The SHAPE conclusions in '64 were that there were 4 groups that we knew of. They were apparently interplanetary. Some very likely were interstellar. They even concluded that some of them could be intergalactic. When I retired in 1976, many of our military people knew at that point that we were not simply dealing with visitations from people from other planets or star systems. They had concluded by '76 that some of these visitors very well might be multidimensional in their source. The evidence that we had collected and the evidence that they had repeatedly demonstrated to us And that's no accident. It became very clear after a time that there was a program or a process of some kind underway, that they had demonstrated over and over and over again that they apparently were able to manipulate matter and time. Now this really shook up our scientists. There are a lot of new young scientists in particle physics today who talk about multiple dimensions. There's a brilliant young professor in New York by the name of Michio Kaku, who has written a brilliant book called Hyperspace, where they talk about 10 separate dimensions. I'm not enough of a physicist to try to explain to you what a dimension is, but the idea that there could be intelligences from somewhere else, from other dimensions coming and going into our reality. It's been quite a shakeup in traditional science. I guess I speak out openly and bluntly about this because I feel so strongly about it. I violate my security oath every time I speak about it. I do it intentionally and I do it on purpose, because I feel so strongly that the American people not only have a right to know the truth, but they have a need to know the truth. The truth, Don, apparently is simply this, that we're not alone, we've never been alone. We are apparently part of an infinite universe filled with intelligent life. I find that exciting. It doesn't frighten me. The SHAPE study concluded in '64 that if they, whoever they were malevolent or hostile, that they could have taken this planet and cleaned it up and eliminated us, turned us into dog food or whatever, a long, long time ago. That the historical evidence indicates that they've been with us a long time, and I've concluded that we had what I like to call an intimate interrelationship with at least one of those groups, the group that looks exactly like we do. And that point is, I don't like the word alien. I don't think the term alien is appropriate at all here. I like to refer to them as family. We're related to them. I think they had a hand in our being here. And I think the time has come where we're about to meet our extended family. It's going to be very soon. And the people are not ready. And one of the reasons I do speak out so bluntly and so openly is if in some small way I can help people get prepared for this. Because I believe that this reality, once we have accepted it and understood it and gone beyond the fear, will bring about an expansion of consciousness in the human race that will truly help us, prepare us to go out there
legends handed down in many of the sacred teachings of diverse and distant cultures, all tell of a time of human challenge and earth upheaval, giving way to a new beginning for the earth, a new golden age. There have been thousands of documented sightings of UFOs and extraterrestrial beings in the past 100 years. And like it or not, incredible technological feats of construction, such as the pyramids of Giza, cannot possibly be the work of human hands and human-designed machines. At this time of Earth transition, I've been asked by these star beings to deliver a series of messages to the people of the Earth, so that people everywhere might be informed of their imminent arrival. Their message is about us as human beings finally coming of age, and together with them, co-creating new life within this galaxy. They are here to stand beside us and help us transition through this time of change and challenge, to together create a new age of peace and prosperity on Earth. Be guided by how you feel when you hear these words. Let the opening into love that you will feel within your heart and the quickening of the energy behind the words as it flows into your body be the yardstick and barometer of the truth. This is what I am told. A long time ago, in a time known by the ancients as Septifi, the first times, the Galactic Council of this Milky Way galaxy decided to create a new upgraded species of people for the Earth. The indigenous people of the Earth at that time were mired in repeating cycles of death and destruction, and did not have the genetic ability and the spiritual capacity to advance and move beyond these cycles. They had lost their way as the Earth had also lost its way, and fallen in consciousness and vibration from a fifth-dimensional star called Tara to a third-dimensional planet called Earth. The creator gods and the star nations within this galaxy were troubled. They wished to redeem the Earth beings, and felt that the only way they could take the Earth and her people forward was to create a new human species, and to seed the Earth with this new, more advanced human DNA. This great experiment in human creation occurred around 100,000 years ago. The new, more advanced human beings were brought to the Earth and began to intermarry with those who were already here. Many beings from the stars also chose to incarnate on Earth, to take on the new DNA coding, and so help the Earth move forward. Many of these star beings are human-looking. This is because they created us to look like them. Star beings tell me that since that time, 4 cycles of Earth precession of the equinoxes have come and gone. As each of these cycles came to an end, and the Earth realigned with the energy programming center at the heart of the galaxy, the galactic center, a new cycle began. And as it did so, a shift in the electromagnetic energy entrainment between the Earth and the galactic center also took place. This cycle of precession involves a gradual shift of Earth's axis of rotation, a slow revolving wobble of the Earth on its axis. However, the angle of Earth tilt in its relationship to the Sun and other heavenly bodies remains the same. The star beings tell me that a controlled pole shift is underway, with continuing Earth changes through 2014. They say that at this time of transition, Earth is finally to come of age and be recalibrated to a fifth-dimensional vibration. A new fifth root race of human beings is to be created. What this means is that the 12-strand DNA potential that we now all have as human beings will be able to be activated within the faster pulsating energy environment of a new fifth-dimensional Earth. More of the innate cognitive power and potential that was always part of our original genetic code will be activated. DNA material that previously has been termed by scientists as junk DNA will begin to be switched on. The capacity for us as human beings to use our mind in more empowered ways will be increased. In truth, with the Earth's shift to the fifth dimension, we are all being recreated and upgraded, both in consciousness and in physical form. At this time of new beginning, many beings from the stars are coming again to the Earth to help humanity chart a course through stormy waters and begin a new planetary cycle of conscious galactic co-creation. Many representatives of the star nations of this galaxy will come to walk among us here on Earth. They say that so many will come that no government will be able to deny this or cover up the truth. In turn, they will help our world governments chart a new path of progress and vision for the Earth, so that working together as one galactic people, we will right injustice and ensure that all upon the Earth have equal opportunity. Their message is positive. They say, be heartened by what lies ahead. They assure us that our thoughts of fear are merely a release of old, outmoded consciousness vibrations that are falling away from us now, like a snake shedding its skin. They understand that old viewpoints and conditioned ideas of reality may require mental readjustment. But this is quickly done if we just allow ourselves to be and be with what is. They say, when we come, we will come quickly, and we will come in large numbers. You will see huge ships of light in the skies above your cities. No one will be able to deny that we are here among you. When you see these irrevocable signs in the skies that we have arrived, please welcome us with the consciousness of love, as you too came from the stars, and we are like family to you. We work only for your highest good and greatest well-being. In the years ahead, we wish to assist you in many areas of technology to advance the Earth and create abundance, health, and happiness for all. Together, we will recreate the pure light and original beauty of Tara, the Earth as it once was and will be again. The time of our coming is at hand. Practice love and goodwill. Be kind to yourself and to others. Become aware that thoughts that are critical or condemning will fly like a boomerang back to you. So be mindful of how you think and how you act from these thoughts that are your own creation. Be at peace and know that all is well.